I'm now on the northern side of the city, and this is, they call a caravanserai. It's where all the traders would have come a long time ago to display their goods and wares. Wonderful, isn't it? And today they're cafes and shops, and you can go and enjoy yourself. Reading the information here, and I was a little bit wrong. Actually, this place was for people to stay. These were rooms when the Ottomans conquered Cyprus almost 500 years ago. They're the ones who built it. One day when you guys can travel, you can come and see all these wonderful places. For instance, look here. Got a beautiful shop full of lamps and things like that, and pictures, beautiful scarves and handbags and towels, all sorts of amazing things. So I'm at the Selimiye Mosque. We know it's a mosque because there's a minaret there. That's the tower where the muezzin, like the priest, gives a call to prayer. So for Muslims, 5 times a day. This was once a church though. It was not always a mosque. So if you look at the design, see the pointy archway here? Let's go a bit closer. Because that design is not typical of a mosque. And why was it turned into a mosque, and why is it no longer a church? This was because of the Ottomans, who were Islamic people, Muslim people, and they conquered Cyprus almost 500 years ago. Often when one nation conquers another one, it imposes its customs and its ways and its religions. Being Muslims, they converted the church into a mosque, probably because it was the biggest church and it was a sign of a change in power. However, we can still find some churches on this side of the city, and on the Greek side, which is the Christian side, you can also find some mosques. So this is now now a mosque, as you can see by some Arabic inscriptions there. But it would also be quite easy to imagine it when it was a church, especially by the roof and by the architecture. Look at the carpet, amazing, very plush. So a very big church like this would have been known as a cathedral. A cathedral is a church on a big scale with high vaulted ceilings. The building of it started 800 years ago, so a very long time ago. And like I said, after being built 500 years ago, it was captured by the Ottomans and turned into a mosque. And in Islam, the language of the religion is Arabic. So that's Arabic writing behind me. You won't understand it. I don't understand it. But someone like Sofian, you might remember Sofian, who visited us in Germany, my friend from Algeria, that's his first language is Arabic. So he understands the writing and he can speak it as well. And that is the language in which their Bible, which is called the Quran, is written in Arabic. So a beautiful building with a lot of history. Now we look back along the length of the mosque, and we look all the way to the other side, and we can see the coloured glass. That probably dates back to when it was a cathedral and a church. Here we have the big minaret on this side of the mosque. Funny enough, up in the sky there's the moon, the crescent moon, just above the top of the mosque. And the crescent moon is the first where the moon is new and forms a little crescent, and that is the sign of Islam. You see on countries like Turkey, which have the Islamic faith, they'll have the sickle moon. It's the same with the flag from Algeria, and from many other Islamic countries. There, that's what I'm talking about. You see the flag? It's a picture of, it's a red flag with the sickle moon. There we go, and a star. Okay. We have some very old buildings like this one behind me, which is probably more than 100 years old, I'm sure. And you can see that it's not in very good condition. They've had to also put some support poles in front of the door. There you see the front door to stop the lintel from collapsing, and if that lintel collapses then the whole building falls down. So those poles could be supporting everything up above. The question is, why are they not being fixed up? And that has a lot to do with history and who is living in this part of the city, which is controlled by the Turks, the Turkish state, and not by the Cypriot Republic, which is the Greek side. So now I've walked a few minutes from the mosque cathedral, and I've come to the city, one of the city gates, the Kyrenia gate, and this is where the old city walls, where you would enter into the old city in ancient times or medieval times, many hundreds of years ago. Now, of course, the city is much bigger than the old city. The new city is bigger than the old city. But behind me, you can see is the gate as it was when it was built all those hundreds of years ago. And it still has Latin writing there. Latin is the language that came down from the Romans at the time of Jesus. The Romans were in power, and they gave their language to civilizations that came afterwards, like even Latin is still used today for medicine and for naming animals and plants, and anything that's living has a Latin name. But no one speaks Latin anymore. It's just a written language for science. However, it does live on in our languages, but not in the same way, not the way that they spoke it. So, we have Latin, we have Greek, which is the language that the ancient Greek spoke, and now the modern Greek people, they have their own form of the Greek. So languages change. Even our own languages, they will change. Hundreds of years' time, people will look back and they probably won't understand the kinds of things that we write and say. So just a little history lesson there. You guys love olives. And what is this behind me? But an olive tree with olives on it. Take a look. That's an olive. It's very hard. You can't eat it off the tree. It's not like a plum. What you have to do is you have to put it in salt water and you have to leave it for a few months till it goes soft. But it's not the harvesting time yet. These olives they're still very young. It's only at the end of the year, around November time, that you pick them and put them into salt water. And make them and get them start the process of getting them edible. Edible means so you can eat them. I'm walking along the old city walls, which were built all those hundreds of years ago, and now on the outside of the walls, people are growing fruit trees. I can see flowers growing under the shade cloth there. Polytunnels for vegetables, and well, this is not in use anymore. There goes a man with a wheelbarrow. I can see a tractor over there. It's very hot, but maybe this is a good place to have a garden. Maybe it's a bit cooler, maybe it gets a bit more shade, and maybe the water runs off nicely from the city, from the streets, and collects here. Not sure. I'm sure there's a good reason though. That over there is a cypress tree. That tall fir tree there, it's called a cypress tree. Now I've walked a little distance from where I showed you the lemon trees and the bananas and the flowers, and now on this side wall they're building on this side of the wall. Perhaps it's going to be a car park We're very close to the presidential palace where the president lives. I don't know the reason, but it's quite busy here. So I'm still in the northern city, and here's a very good example of an Ottoman house. The Ottomans were the people who conquered the city about 450 years ago or so, and they are the ones, actually they conquered Cyprus, and they built in this style. You can see this house is made out of almost completely out of wood and only plastered on the outside. See around the windows, you see the white plaster on top of the wooden pieces. So here I'm inside another lovely old church, an Armenian Christian church. As you can see, there's a picture of Mary and Jesus over the altar there, and you have a beautiful, beautiful carved altar, carved out of wood. I don't know how old this is. I'll find out. But they've had to do a lot of work to restore it. Restoring means getting it back to something, how it looked when it was built all those many hundreds of years ago. And of course there's some changes. When it was originally built, it didn't have lights. Now you can see there are lamps so that it can be at night time. You can switch them on and maybe you can have a service. Interesting that there are no seats. So people here would have to stand if there was a service. I'm going to go and walk up to the top here. I'm the only one here. And all I can hear outside are the pigeons. They're nice and peaceful. See here, we've got some old Armenian writing, which is different again. We've got so many different languages here. I've talked about Latin and Greek and Arabic. The Armenians were people who had their own language as well. So you have very nice streets where you can buy back streets with stalls, little markets, market stalls all along these streets. Look. Selling leather, clothing, blankets, rugs, all kinds of things, socks, shirts. Shoes, flip-flops, and everywhere you go there are cats. So many cats. I quite like those hats over there. Maybe one of the most famous things that Turkey is famous for is its lokum, or Turkish delight. Wow.
Turkish delight.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah. Look at this, guys. Okay. Guys, I've gone up a tower to the 11th floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 11 levels up, and it's got a great view of the whole of the city from up here. So we can see where I've been walking and where I haven't been walking, and let's take a look. That is the Orthodox church that I was in a few moments ago. This one over here. Yeah, and that's the mosque, which was a cathedral in the past. And then the gate where I filmed earlier was somewhere over there. So remember, I've been pulling my bag all the way on its wheels across the city. I've done a lot of walking. My feet are quite sore, but it's worth it. And you can see on those mountains in the background, see all the way in the background there, there's a big flag of the country of Turkey. So there is just in front of, over there is the Armenian church where I was a bit earlier. There's a Catholic church over there. This is looking to the west. And in this direction we can see the new city. Look, big buildings, big towers, modern city.